Welcome back to Ask the Attorney. We're here with Kevin Kennedy out of Clarksville, and we've got lots of questions coming in, some civil questions, some criminal, kind of all over the board.
Yes.
And we want you to keep calling that number at the bottom of your screen, 737+, 737-7587, and it's a great chance to get free legal advice.
Boy,
we rarely get that.
You know, even as a lawyer, 31 years, today we had some big corporate clients come in, and they had a problem. So I said, hold on. And so I brought some younger lawyers in, and we just discussed, and we made a really good plan. And as I told these big executives, I said, we need to discuss your case, and if y'all have got a case at home, then discuss it with the family and discuss it with the lawyers. Like to get a couple of opinions, and that's going to be, you're going to advance, and you'll just feel stronger. The Bible says the wise seek the counsel of others.
Yeah, and I learn from you all the time, Kevin, during this show, and during the break we were just talking about an issue we weren't sure about. So
right, and it goes back to the team approach. I'm big on the team. You know, I've had some great gladiator lawyers that work for me over the years, but I've yet to see one that can take my team. The team is too tough, and that's why they still say that the judicial system with the jury trial, those 12 people are geniuses. They do know. They'll figure it out. And so I've used that. Everybody said, well, I understand a team. Do you really understand a team? I do.
All right. Well, 737+ is the number, 737-7587. All right, let's take some of these calls.
Okay.
We've got Susan here who's been waiting patiently. Hi, Susan.
Yes. I have a two-part question.
Okay.
How long does it usually take for child support to end after the child turns 18 and graduates? And does the parent that's receiving the child support, does she have to pay it back when he overpays?
Okay, good question. Normally, yeah, they're going to pay till that child graduates from high school or is 18 or graduates, and if they're already graduated and they turned 18, that's it. That's the obligation. That's the end of it. For some reason, if there was more paid and there was more collected, does that man have a right or woman to sue the other party? Yes. And they could sue them under the theory of unjust enrichment and say, look, I paid you, that was by accident. And so there's all kinds of theories in the law. And again, it's good if it went on for years and years and years and years, hello, come in, they would say that, what about lashes? You sat on your rights. And so you remember, a creative lawyer is going to come up with 2 or 3 avenues. He will never yield. He will come up with a plan, and the vast majority of the time, your lawyer will draw the line, and it'll be worked out in a settlement.
I think that's the first time we've ever had a child support question where someone is paying too much rather than not paying at all.
Overpaid.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you're out of state and for whatever reason that automatic allotment got in there and just kept running and you didn't pay any attention and it was coming out of an account, I have seen it over the years.
All right. Well, we've got Joe. No, I think we've got Sue here. Another Sue on line 2. Hi, Sue.
I got 3 quick questions.
Okay.
I hope they'll be quick anyway, and I'll give you the easiest ones. I think will be easiest for you first. First one has to do with collecting a judgment. If you are able to obtain a judgment, how do you go about collecting it if you sense that the person is not going to be cooperative? Second question, I know that there are situations in rental, when you're renting property to an apartment, that you may be not allowed hot plates or kerosene heaters or something like that. But I ran into something in my lease that was never mentioned when I signed it. You know, these leases are pages on pages,
yes.
And then when you're signing them, they're saying, okay, well, this doesn't pertain to you, like if it's about pets or something. If you don't have a pet, well, you can just kind of go past all of that. And I didn't see in the lease that I have that we're not allowed to use candles. I would think that the reasoning behind it would be that they actually had some fires here before I moved in here. But I use candles as part of my religious observances. So I'm wondering about that doesn't seem constitutional to me. And the third thing is, I'm involved in a rather complex legal situation, civil. These are all civil. Anyway, I've spoken with you before, so I don't want to repeat it, but basically, I know that you always hammer home that things are time-driven. This thing would be out of time through no fault of my own, and dealing with the Board of Professional Responsibility on this. That's how confusing and complicated this has become. I think if I have any options, they're going through the federal court system. Of course, you have to have representation in the federal court. And one of the things that I've run across is in the course of these attorneys on both sides that I think have really gone, it's just like I said, they've not acted ethically, and hopefully the board will.
So you're kind of trying to see if maybe there's you can dismiss because of a statute of limitations issue?
Well, no. What I'm wondering, I mean, that's what anybody's going to bring up, but I don't think that there's ever any statute of limitations on, when your rights have been, you haven't had a fair. I mean, I didn't have a jury trial. You have a right. There's just a lot of things here where I think anybody looking at this objectively would say that can't be a consideration here. So my question, with the federal court, is there some attorneys that have been interested, but because of all the different attorneys involved at this point, a lot of attorneys can't work with me because of what they cite as conflicts of interest, and some of them are so bizarre as to one firm would not help me because the attorney there, who no longer worked there, was the son of somebody who was involved with this case. So
all right, let me try to answer those.
Yeah, and a lot of times, we have ethical obligations, and sometimes the conflict of interest rules are confusing, especially if you're not a lawyer, but it's stuff that we have to abide by.
And I'll take them 1, 2, 3. We'll talk about the first one. I think she was talking about how do we collect a judgment.
Right.
Well, first thing, if you can find out if they are working, if the people you have a judgment against are working, then go down and file a garnishment on their wages. You can do that at the clerk's office, and then they'll start taking out so much money a week. Her second question dealt with if
the candles.
The candles, and they came back and said, hey, this really wasn't clear. When they give you a 10-page lease, it's like borrowing money at the bank. You're going to be held with what you sign. So if you want to go through it line by line, then that's what you should do before you sign it. It gets into gray area interpretations. I think you can contract away just about any right unless it's totally unconscionable. What does that mean? That means what would a reasonable person do under those circumstances? So there's some gray area interpretations. The candle, what are you going to do if the insurance company says, we will not let you have an open flame in a rental unit? That's no logs, no candles, or your insurance is no good. Well, then, of course, the owners are going to try to put that in there. The third question, I think if we are dealing with a conflict of interest, even though Amy and I would love to answer your questions, if it is determined early on that we have a potential conflict, the law says we can't tell you anything except we have a potential conflict and have to refer you to someone else. And lots of times we'd like to. Sometimes I answer questions hypothetically. We try to do whatever we can to help you, but we cannot break the law.
And it could be someone in your firm that has a conflict or something like that too.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot of rules on us that keep us in check. And the public policy is to protect you. That's why those laws and policies are in effect.
All right, we've got Joe here. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, I have kind of a two questions, but it might be one. But
all right.
I've been following this whole Bill Cosby ordeal that's been going on.
Yes.
And I remember a story that came out last year about a man being released from prison for raping to find out he did not rape nobody. Same as with the Central Park 5. 5 men have been accused of rape, but to find out they didn't do it.
Yes.
How can we fix this problem where if a woman comes out and says he raped me, how do we know that she's really been raped by the person she...
Real good question. And the lawyers at my office, I'll guarantee you, we talk about that every month. We have the same situation. So many people decide, okay, this weekend we're going to go to a club and we're dancing, and we met this lady. She said, take me home. I'll just live around the corner. And the next thing you know, the next day they're charged. And we had them, they said, well, why would she charge? Because when she got home, her boyfriend said, where you been? Then she got scared and said, I got raped. And so then they take them down to the police station. We're going to get to the bottom. And then she gets charged for making a false report. The other man was arrested earlier, $100,000 bond. It is a problem. I want everyone to know, if it's a gray area, don't go make a false report, because it'll come back on you. And so again, everybody's got to use good judgment. It's really zero tolerance. And we've had cases over the years where somebody picked somebody up, they thought they knew them, they had a mental problem, and they said, well, you tried to molest me. I didn't try to molest you. Then it's your word versus the others. Good judgment. You need to know a little bit about what you're getting into before you get into it. And if you're not sure, that C, a lot of people ask me, Kevin, it's Kevin C, Candy. What's the C stand for? I said, well, some days it stands for courage. Some days it stands for commitment. But a lot of times it stands for cautious. If it doesn't seem good, it doesn't smell right, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. That extrasensory perception, your gut feeling, use that was given to you.
But obviously for rape victims who've truly been raped, we don't want to discourage them from coming forward
That's
either.
true. And so again, if you have, then you immediately go to the police and they call what's a fresh report. They can take you for these examinations, physical examinations, and they know what to do. And so it's the gray area on justice. That's why we have the scales. If someone has really been raped, they need justice. If a man's wrongfully accused, he needs protection.
Right.
That's why you have the judicial system.
We've got Barbara here. Hi, Barbara.
Yes.
Hi, go ahead with your question, Barbara.
This is Barb. I have two questions.
Okay.
Last year in November, I had total knee replacement, and from then on, I haven't been able to walk. And then 2 months ago, I had to go and have the knee redone. And I am just wondering, is my doctor that did the total knee replacement responsible for not putting my kneecap in the proper place and tying the ligaments back where I could not be able to walk, and the pain and suffering that I went through for the last 7 or 8 months?
Okay. Well, the first thing you're going to have to determine, you remember every time you go to have a procedure, a medical procedure, they're going to bring you a bunch of forms. You know what that's all about? They call that informed consent, meaning that, yes, we'll do your operation, but there's certain risk, and you're assuming the risk. So when you sign that, that gives them some protection. Is it absolute? No, it's not. All right. If there was a malpractice in that medical procedure, then you've got 1 year to make your claim. You're going to have a medical professional look at that situation and say, there has been a deviation from the standard of care in that community. And as a result of that, there's damages. And you say, well, I can't find a doctor anywhere that's going to say that. Then you don't really have a case.
You need that certificate of good faith.
Yes, it's a certificate of good faith. Of course, you go to lawyers, and they'll look at your medical records, they'll evaluate the case, and then they'll try to contact some medical professionals they know and see. And every time you ask a doctor for his opinion, what are you going to have to do? Somebody's going to have to pay for that. Again, that's why people say, well, why do you go to a big firm? Because so many solo practitioners cannot generate the monies to pay $1,000, a $2,500 report. And then that's just the first step. So if we said, yes, this is a deviation, yes, it's malpractice, then you've got something your lawyers can negotiate with their insurance company and try to make a settlement.
So there's some investigation research involved as well.
Always. But pursue it. You know, they say the squeaky door gets the oil. If you don't do anything, you get nothing.
And Barbara, if you've got that second question, if you'll just hold on, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Kevin Kennedy after this.